last but not least, and also invite Mr. Chung Ho to be our panelist, please. So let's give a warmest applause to all of them. All right, so may we pass the stage to Brian. Thank you.
Thanks so very much. Yeah, I knew we had a last-minute addition, so
Hello.
I said that's why there's one more speaker, so welcome. Chun. So we were just joking about this earlier on. This is unprecedented. We're actually ahead of schedule, so we're starting earlier than we're scheduled to. So I'm glad we're all here today. So the panel today is about securing the future dynamics of the STOs. So many of us that have been involved in STOs have been waiting a little bit to evolve, right? But I think there's been great strides in recent years, and we look forward to seeing what else will arise here today. So my name's Brian Tang. I was previously in TradeFi before I went more into the virtual asset space, and these days I'm founding executive director of LightLab, Law, Innovation, Technology, Entrepreneurship at Hong Kong University. So looking at the regulatory elements, but also the market elements in relation to this space. So maybe if each of you could please give a brief introduction of yourself, and then also the role that your organization is holding in relation to the STO ecosystem. We'll start, ladies first, Joy, please. Thank you.
Thanks, Brian. So I'm Joy Lam. I'm the head of legal APAC for Binance, and I'm also a member of the Hong Kong government's Web3 Development Task Force. Before joining Binance, I was a partner at several international law firms doing a lot of work with clients in the digital asset space, from licensing, funds, investments, and also tokenization of assets.
Thanks so much, Joy. Actually, can you all hear us properly? They're kind of loud next door, so I just want to make sure you guys can hear us, right? So maybe put your mic closer to the mouth, please. Thanks. Samson, over to you. Thank you.
Hi, thank you, Brian. Hi, my name is Samson Lee. I'm the founder and CEO of CoinStreet. We are a 7-year-old company in the digital asset space. We have been doing different things, Web3, STO, crypto. One of our subsidiaries called CS Pro, we have got the Type 1 distribution license from SFC in Hong Kong, specialized in security token offering or digitized securities or tokenized assets.
Great. Thank you, Samson. And you also run the TADS prizes as well in relation to STOs, right? You want to say a little bit about that?
Yeah, we joined hand with many industry players in 2020, like including Deloitte, Cyberport, Invest Hong Kong, and Joy is a supporter as well. And Brian, thank you. Started this international awards called the TADS Awards, TADS. It stands for Tokenized Asset and Digitized Securities. And it turned out to be the world's first international awards of its kind. It's running for this is the 5th year now. And we are trying to build it into international award for the industry. So thank you everyone and welcome everyone to participate. It's a non-profit event, so feel free to join.
I want to mention that because as a judge for that event, that's how I actually learned about a lot of different STO initiatives around the world. So so thanks for that initiative. Next, Chung, please.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, for the invite to this event last minute for me as well. So my name is Chung Ho, everybody. I'm from Singapore, representing ChainUp. ChainUp is a technology company in the Web3 space. We've been around for 6 years globally, and we sell everything from a platform of the exchange itself, everything around building an exchange system, market making, etc., all the way to doing tokenization as well recently into this year. It's a big market for this kind of area, and from ChainUp's perspective, we've been developing technology around that. So any company that wants to spin up a tokenization business and the journey around that, ChainUp provides that technology and services to support that journey for our customers out there today. And in addition to that, ChainUp also provides things like mining services and also what do you call it? Mining services and staking for the business out there. So thank you.
Thank you. So being a technology provider, it'll be interesting. You get to see all the different kinds of projects that come across your desk. Awesome. Last but not least, over to you, Henry.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us at this lunchtime. My name is Henry. I'm the founder and the CEO of DGFT. We're coming from Singapore. DGFT is an exchange. It's an exchange for security tokens built on the DeFi platform. So you can call us a decentralized exchange for security token. And also very unique is we are licensed. We are licensed in Singapore, having 2 licenses similar to Type 1 and Type 7 in Hong Kong. So we are the first and so far the only licensed decentralized exchange for security tokens. So a great pleasure to join the panel.
Okay, great. So as you can hear, we've got an exchange, we've got structurers, we've got infra providers, and then we've got Binance, right? Which is a lot of different things, right? So again, maybe you all have been involved in the space for some time. Maybe let's start with the glass half full, right? What significant advancements, what significant progress have you seen in the last few years in relation to the STO space? Maybe we'll work backwards. We can start with you, Henry. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Brian. I do see a lot of things, good things, happened in the last 12 months. My colleagues in the panel definitely have a lot of view to say, so I just don't need to go to one by one. I just highlight a couple of things which I think is very eye-catching. First is the so-called market awareness. People more and more talking about so-called asset tokenization or token assets, asset tokens. This, in my word, I would call blockchain go beyond cryptocurrencies. This is number one, I would say. Number two, if I may say, is I see the convergence. This convergence of no matter you call the Web 2 and a Web 3 convergence, or traditional finance and a decentralized finance, is the convergence. Number three, I would say just the regulation comes in. People talk more and more about the regulation because people realize so-called regulation, regulators, laws, licensing is an important topic, and it's also an important enabler for the long-term growth of asset tokenization. I will stop by here. So,
great. But I want you to carry on a little bit because, again, in the past I've been in touch quite a bit with ADX and OE and the like. So a lot of what we see here, I'd love to hear your thoughts on what you see as the new products that are coming out, right? We've all heard of some of the funky products, right? And there's lots of things that one can tokenize, especially with real-world assets. But what are you seeing in terms of what's promising on your platform and the like over the last 12 months?
Yeah, this is very, very important question. So what does mean, what the value creations of tokenization to the assets? I just have some views. Probably not everybody would agree, but I just say it. Welcome to challenge.
That's what good panels are. Good panels have challenges, right? So get ready to challenge.
I don't want to be the center, be challenged. Tokenizing assets actually does not change the feature of the assets at all. Security tokens, no matter it's a treasury bill, it is still treasury bill. In a token way, it is still in a risk profile and a return profile. And you tokenize the real estate, or you tokenize some art piece, it does not change the value of the underlying assets. But why do we need to tokenize it? I think it is to addressing two major things. One is accessibility. Another is efficiency. Real estate is still real estate. Art piece is still art piece. Treasury bill is still treasury bill. But in the current way, the accessibility is relatively weak. So in the token way, the accessibility can be much better without going into much detail. Then go to the so-called efficiency part. I used to be in the traditional finance. We all know 1 people in the front office, at least 10 people in the middle and the back office to handle all the detail processing, settlement, clearing, payment, reconcilement, all the things. That's the efficiency. Leverage on the current technologies is up to the limit. So you cannot improve too much unless you have a new technology, which I think is a blockchain, Web 3. can substantially improve the efficiency. Then make the, again, link to the accessibility, make things much, much easy. That's why I say the benefits and the true value creations of so-called tokenization to the assets does not change the asset itself, change the way and change the efficiency.
Okay, great, thank you. So sorry, I'm just going to ask one last quick question, and then because I want to hear your thoughts here, because one of the things we had heard from the pre-call in terms of products, right? So I came from the traditional world as well, and I did IPOs, which is why STOs kind of attracted me a lot, right? So with IPOs, when people are talking about tokenization, real estate is like, oh, have you heard of REITs, right? That's basically a tokenization. So, but what I've heard from your team is that T-bills actually are of great interest. Maybe you can share a little bit more, because I think that's what you're seeing a lot more volume in your platform right now.
Thank you. We just launched a T-bill in a so-called DR model, deposit to receive model, last Thursday and Friday. We made an announcement yesterday. Just talk about T-bill. Back to my favorite topic is accessibility. T-bill, almost everyone knows about it. It's the single largest issuance amount financial instrument, more than 20 trillions. More than 20 trillions, very good liquidity. But just asking this panel, asking the people in the room, does everybody has very easy access to T-bill? In other words, can you buy T-bill very easily at any amount, any tenor, at any time, anywhere? The answer probably is no, which means even as popular as T-bill, US Treasury bill, the accessibility in the current world is still not very good. So that's room to improve. Needless to say, real estate is less liquid. And also I noticed people like Samson, you mentioned something about the IPO, right? The big companies, but how about the smaller companies? Can they access to the equity market? I was in the 3-5 too. Our IBD team usually don't take care about it. Until you reach to say you raise like 100 million, we talk to you. If you want to raise 5 million, thank you very much. No, right? So it's accessibility.
No, excellent. And maybe that's a nice segue over to Sam, right? So Sam, what are you seeing in relation to the kind of, real world assets have been discussed a lot, but what are you seeing and what are the developments in the last year or so that's been really positive?
Yeah, I think the change we have seen in the past 12 months exceed the 7 years in the industry that I'm in. So I guess the biggest two things I've seen is the regulations, right? Because whenever we talk about investment, it has to be compliance. The regulation have to be there. Without that, the industry restrict to the crypto community. Only with the regulations, I'm sure Joy can elaborate a lot more later, right? We can bring in the traditional money, much larger ecosystem. So that's a bridge. Second, I'm very glad to see there are a lot of focus now talking about the underlying asset. It's not about the token anymore, right? So all these terms about RWA, the real world asset is talk about the underlying asset, right? By the way, it doesn't replace STO, right? Because STO security token offering, if you go to the SFC website, the regulation is still around security tokens. They often talk about security tokens and non-security tokens. It's just that the underlying asset is a lot more focused on RWA. But I tend to have a slightly different view with Henry. I think in some way during the tokenization process, it does change the product. Maybe the underlying assets are the same, right? The real estate and the T-bills. But when we create the tokens, it's a derivative product. It's almost like ETF, right? You can think about Bitcoin ETF is a very different product than Bitcoin. So we are creating new financial products, and we can have a lot of innovation just in that. Because when we look at the security tokens, it's actually 3 layers. The underlying asset, the legal structure, and the token itself. And also depends which chain the tokens mint on, right? Different chains now have their own uniqueness. So just a combination of all these 3 can have a lot of innovation and a lot of new product innovations.
Great. So maybe to explore that a little bit further, so what kind of products are you seeing coming to market, in both in terms of real world and more financial institution instruments, but also who are the investors, right? So the hope and dream had always been, if you have have a traditional financial instrument, you might get more crypto type investors coming into the space, or vice versa. You have a crypto type stuff, maybe you have more mainstream coming in. What are you currently seeing when you structure your deals?
Yeah, I wouldn't claim I'm expert. I'm learning every day, and this is really very early days. I think we are exploring, right, what will be the right formula. But just from our company point of view, we from the strategic point of view, we are more focused on alternative investment, right? Because we think the STO is a special path with a special door. So investor going through this path in special doors, looking for something special to invest. So we try to stay away from very traditional asset, which is very efficient in the traditional markets. So we like product, for example, like carbon credits, right? Arts and collectibles. I think T-bill is a great product. Yeah, well done, by the way. Congratulations. Yeah. So alternative investments.
Okay, that's great. It shows the versatility of the product. I mean, I remember when I spoke to Oi, her big product was CPs, commercial paper. I'm like, really? But it sells, right? And you have a product, you need to know how it sells. So Chung, as a technology provider, what are you seeing in terms of your clients, and what are they using the tokenization engines for?
Thank you. Yeah, so it's quite interesting. I think from our standpoint, the technology is not difficult. I think overall, I think everybody agrees. You build an interface that make it look like a Web 2 to Web 3, connect it to the blockchain of your choice, and then also be able to automatically create the proper smart contracts associated with it. And voila, you have the ability to tokenize itself there, right? So that's the easy part. I think what our customers get stuck up is exactly what Henry and Sam has been talking about, is this entire journey. How do you take this concept of, okay, first we identify what exactly is the actual asset or tangible thing that you want to digitize to tokenize, right? So that's the first part. And the second part, we go through that process more like a consultative approach with them, because anybody can come up with a product and a technology product very easily. In fact, you could tell ChatGPT to write that thing for you as well, right? That's the lowest value denominator of the whole process itself there. But the more value add is like, okay, once you have that, the second part is accessibility, as Henry said. Well, what's accessibility mean? Well, where are you going to get it traded, right? Who's going to invest into it as well? So we talk about institutional investors, now hoping retail investors, family offices, all those kind of things come into play and say, okay, we need to identify the liquidity capability of that asset itself there. So we walk through that process of identify how do we ensure that once you tokenize it, how do you on-ramp that thing? And then how do you make it liquidable across the entire market or specific market itself there? So we take them through that whole journey process itself there. Now, there's one more thing that I think we haven't mentioned yet, is that once it's tokenized, once it's in the chain, the beautiful thing about that is you create a secondary market by taking those things and staking it as well to make money out of a secondary offering in a sense as well. So that's another aspect. But again, I think the liquidity of that will determine that, that interest, that pull factor into it, right? So T-bills is a great example. And taking T-bills, it's already pretty much guaranteed, right? And then you put a staking on top of that. So that's like the value from a financial aspect to that, right? And that's kind of what we're seeing as the journey.
Great, thank you. We'll come back to liquidity, because that's always the promise. Yes, we can tokenize it, and yes, you can do secondary markets, but it's not quite there yet, right? So, but let's turn over to you, Joy. So, Joy, you were previously, in a large law firm, right? Focused on dealing with lots of different interesting clients doing different things. Now you're in-house. I know you're newer, so there's certain things you can comment on and certain things you can't. Love to hear your thoughts in terms of how you see the market progressing in the last 12 months in a positive way.
Yeah, thanks, Brian. I mean, look, I think that we have seen a real maturation of the legal and regulatory framework, which I know, Samson and Henry have already touched on. I think that, the policy developments that we've seen from the government, obviously the new regulatory guidance that the SFC has come out with, that all really helps. And it really does position STO, I think, as a bridge between TradFi and the crypto natives. I think one of the interesting things for me, because I first started doing digital assets work, actually when a real estate fund client came to me and said, oh, I want to set up a real estate fund, but I want to tokenize it. And I kind of said, dude, I have no idea what you were talking about. And that was back in 2018, right? So we've come a really long way since then. But I think it's very interesting seeing, or having seen, I guess, the evolution of the way that people think about it and the types of products that people are thinking about. So when we first started doing this work, it was very much, let's tokenize a fund, because it's a structure that people already understand. It's a structure that, people are comfortable with. Regulators also understood it. I guess parking the tokenization element itself. But, I think in the last sort of 12 months, what I saw a lot more of before I left private practice really was tokenization of assets for a different segment of the market. So when people first started talking about tokenization of funds, it was very much, there are people who are already investing in private funds, and some of them, they understand conceptually what the potential benefits are of tokenization, and they are, I think, willing to kind of explore that a little bit more. But it's interesting that a few panelists again commented on T-bills. So one of the last things that I did before I left private practice was I had a very big crypto native client saying that they wanted to set up a structure to tokenize T-bills. And I said to them, well, T-bills are already very liquid, right? People generally talk about tokenization in the sense of, we're going to provide, access to these illiquid investments. And, T-bills, I think, on the spectrum are fairly liquid already. And so I sort of said to them, why do you want to tokenize T-bills? And it was interesting because this was not long after we had all the banking issues with Signature Bank and Silicon Valley Bank. And they said, look, frankly, we have a lot of clients who have large piles of stablecoins parked, and they want to access the yield. So for us, tokenizing T-bills is not about bridging the TradFi investors into digital assets, as it has been for a lot of others. For us, it's really about giving crypto natives who have large piles of stablecoins access to the same yield that can be generated by the underlying product without having to deal with all of the challenges of banking rails. And that really, I had so many clients come to me and talk about products like this because it was focused on a different segment of the market. So I think the other thing, coming back to your original question, in addition to the maturation of the regulatory framework, I would say that another interesting thing is just watching the development and, in a way, a bifurcation, right, of the investor segment, but just seeing a very broad spectrum of different products, which frankly are focused at different types of investors.
No, I think that's a great observation because with the T-bills and the commercial paper type examples, you have traditional investors, right, looking to get access at a lower, coupon, at a lower denom amount. But what you're talking about is actually keeping everything on chain, right? So the crypto native saying, hey, I want to access, but I want to go off chain, on chain, off chain, off chain. I get a new access point, right? So I think, so this is again the evolving aspect of the marketplace. So I kind of have a personal take on some of the projects coming up. When I speak to some of the folk that are curating these projects, except for the financial projects, a lot of them seem to be merchant banking type models where they have to curate it and they have to structure it, but they also have to find the investors. Right, but that then links on to, I guess, the challenges point that perhaps the market. So we're seeing all the great progress, right? So how do we get to the next level, right? How do we address and what are the main challenges to get to the next level for this, to get the full potential of this marketplace? And you touched upon liquidity, which is the promise. But since you do have a marketplace, love to hear your thoughts on how you can generate that, especially given the traditional business model of a lot of exchanges, which is they have a market-making engine, but a lot of the regulators don't allow the exchanges to have their own market-making. So love to hear your initial thoughts on that one first. Thanks.
Yeah, Brian, if I read your question correctly, I would assume you are asking what will be the key enablers which can bring the STO or asset token from the current stage to the next level.
Yes, indeed. Yes.
Right. Very important. I would say many reasons. There will be some key things, if happen quickly, I think will be very helpful. Number one, since you mentioned regulation, I just echo this point. I would say number one, regulation. Number two, technology. Number three, stable coin. There will be three things. Regulation, a lot of people talk about it. You cannot expect regulation will be ahead of innovations. They must be behind innovation, but they need to support innovations. Number two, why technology? Because we're using a new way to dealing with assets, no matter it's issuance or distribution or liquidity or trading. So-called the new ways, blockchain, Web3. These are proven technologies, but the efficiency of this technology is still at the early stage. I would say like internet in 97, 98. When internet at 97, 98, you will see Yahoo and Amazon coming out. You cannot imagine there will be Netflix at that time because of the speed and the money. So this is one example of technology. Money, very important, a stable coin. No matter it's like a Circle, Tesla, or CBDC. These are all money in a token way. It's a very clear trend. More money in the token way. Definitely they need the assets in the token way as well. Vice versa. This is just back to Joe's point. I fully agree with that. Why tokenization of T-bills? Who do they sell to? Sell to Web3 people. You can using USDC to buy T-bill token, which our platform we are offering and we are licensed to do. Because we're licensed, we can touch fiat, we can touch digital money, and we can touch securities. So we can touch the three things and in a DeFi way, which is in a smart contract way. So that's why the T-bill guys, the Web3 people, they're holding a wallet, they can buy T-bill token without a bank. They don't need a bank, can settle simultaneously. That's the value. So sorry for the long answer. Technology, regulation, money.
We'll come back to you in 1 year's time to see how the T-bill market has kind of evolved since then, right? So Chung, Henry mentioned technology. Love to hear your thoughts on that and the general question. Thanks.
Well, yeah, I mean, like Henry said, it's going to continue evolving, right? And I can't tell you even 6 months from now what that will look like, because in the Web3 space, I think, it's not like Moore's law where, semiconductor hardware advances and doubles its capability every 18 months and all that. I think
now we have Blackwell, right? We just
exactly. And so that being said, I think you'll continue to see one key thing around this is interoperability, meaning that it's very easy for you to connect across to be able to take your product cross-chain and to be able to access those resources that you never had before. So that is going to be a key capability to drive that. And that's kind of what ChainUp is going to do, or as we're doing, as we design a product into the next 6 to 12 months, is to make sure that we have the capability to do multiple platforms and improve interoperability, usability, etc.
Thank you. It's flashing 2 minutes, but I have 1.5 left. So Sam, what wish list? What should we do to what do we need to grow the ecosystem? And then over to...
Well, you mentioned an interesting point about liquidity, right? I want to bring it back to the basics, right? Because we have a lot of media, marketing message. But for investment, the end of the day is about risk and return, right? If along the process, I think the main objective of all this tokenization is how do we create new financial products with lower risk and higher return. When we achieve that, the liquidity will come, right? The financial world is all smart money. They will find out, especially for the digital asset world, all this USDT, they will be here in no time. So I think that's the direction we should be pursuing.
Awesome. Last but not least, Joy, from private practice now in-house in a large organization, wish list. What do you think that the ecosystem needs to grow, especially for the STO space? Thanks.
I think that education is still something that we really need to focus on, because I think that there are a big chunk of the population thinks digital assets broadly and doesn't necessarily distinguish or understand the difference between cryptocurrencies versus STOs, and I think they are two different propositions. So I would say education is certainly one thing, and I think another thing more from the business side is our ecosystem, I guess, of the different service lines that support or that are needed to support STOs is not at the level, it doesn't have the depth and it doesn't have the breadth that I think we really need to support new products and new people entering into the space.
Okay, great. Well, our time is up. Sam mentioned that it was in the last year we were faster than last 7 years. Let's see what the next year holds for us. If you can please put your hands together to thank our great panelists here today. Thank you.
All right, so please remain on stage and let's have a group photo first.